everyone, welcome to the Hitchhiker's Way podcast. Today we have Deepak Gupta. He was the co founder and CTO of LoginRadius, and now he's currently working with CrackerAI. Welcome to the show, Deepak. How's it going?
Hey, thanks, Aishwarya. It's going pretty
Yeah.
great. Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, can you talk about your recent launch? What is Logic Balls? And I think it has shown some traction within 4 months.
Yeah, so we just recently launched Logic Balls. So when there is a lot of hype going on in AI, as you know, like a lot of people are launching. There are like a lot of new systems coming up, like OpenAI, Gemini, Microsoft is launching Cloud. Like there are a lot of systems coming in. But when we look at the market, when I talk to people, a lot of people in the tech industry, they know how to use it. They can go to OpenAI, they can go to Cloud, they can go to Gemini, like they can use the system. But when you talk to normal people, people who are not technical, who don't know how to interact with AI, what to do, what not to do, that's where we were like, hey, who will going to help these non-technical people? Like, so that's where we thought about and building a thing where everybody can just go and use the AI. They can just ask something. They don't need to learn the complex prompt. They don't need to learn something. They can just go and just simply ask and do some daily day-to-day stuff. So that's where Logic Ball born, and that's where we born few like launched some tools, and now we have over 1,000 tools in different industries, different verticals. The most more focus is around people who are not too technical, who don't want to learn complex things, and that's where it all began.
So, what kind of complex things are we talking about? Like generating code and writing stuff like that,
Yeah,
or
so like a lot of
um,
so a lot of complex things is like, yeah, people generating code, creating videos, creating audios, creating like content and things like that. Those are a little bit more complex, but day to day stuff like, hey, like I need help with this email, I need help with this particular small things. Some of the service industry, like some of the small business owners like plumber or electrician, they need some small content generation, some small things where they don't know how to interact with these technical systems. So those are the small things we are adding into Logic Balls.
that's right. You mentioned about normal people not really knowing how to use GPT and Claude, right? Why do you think that is still there? Why do you think it's like a barrier for non technical people?
Yeah.
And whose logic was solving it?
So AI is still fairly new. I mean, it is pretty advanced in last like 6 7 years. Things has grown a lot. I'm not saying that it has not grown a lot. These systems are pretty advanced, but right now, if you see the AI, it is like the early phase of computers. So when computers started back in 80s or 90s, that's where it started with like DOS programming, where you have to type everything, where you have to give the commands to the system. So AI is there right now, like it is like you have to type, you have to do things. And now in last 20 30 years, it has advanced the computer industry or the tech industry, where you don't need to type anything, you just click buttons, and that's where AI has to go. And it's could be another few years, it could be another 10 years, we don't know. But so that is the big challenge with these systems right now. In order to understand and use it, you still need to interact with it, you need to type it, you need to give the
Prompts.
instructions, prompts, whatever you call it. Yeah, so those are the things a little bit complicated for the non-tech people. And what we are doing is we are generating the magic prompts. That's the technology we have built. What users are saying that, hey, I want this particular thing, and then we are crafting, we have created some algorithms, and they generate the prompts and they interact with the backend AI systems. We are still using those backend AI systems, but we are helping people, like sort of an interface between them, to managing that for them.
I just want to circle back to your origin story. Like, can you give a bit of background to yourself and from your childhood, actually? And I just want to know how it affected your life and your work ethic to and right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, your childhood definitely affects the whole journey of your life, what you do in your life. So I was born in a business family. My family had a lot of different businesses, a lot of different factories in India, and I saw them all the time. And then that's where I built this mindset, hey, I want to also do something new, something, I want to build something, something my own, like something innovative I want to build. And I think age of 8 or 9 I got introduced to the computers, where I learned DOS and some programming. I started doing some coding, and that's where I was so fascinated that things you can build, things you can do. And that's where I learned that, hey, I want to build something in computer. And that's why my childhood dream is that I want to invent something. I want to create something new that would make users life, or everyday consumers life, easy. And that's where I started building products. So when I was in college here in Chicago, I built few products for the education industry and things like that. And that's where the whole entrepreneurship journey began.
So, yeah, you know Michael Sebel from YC, right?
Right.
Yeah, I heard an hilarious thing from one of the YC videos he made. Like in college, every founder, like when you're young, you think business is all about consumers, right? And and then you grow up, you build some stuffs, and you realize, oh, you could also sell it to businesses. Was that in your case? Like you thought consumers was the whole thing while you were doing college?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. When you are in college, you never think about business. So the first product I remember, we built it for students, like it's a ed tech product. So yeah, I mean, when you are growing up, you are in college, and I'm maybe that's why all these like consumer focused company like Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, they came from college dorms. Because in college, you growing up, you just think about the consumer point of view, because you are a consumer consuming the technology. You are not a business like using the technology. But once you build couple of products, then you know the real opportunity or real thing is the businesses, where you can make money, where you can sell it to them. And that's where the real challenge is. So yes, that is 100% true. Yeah.
So, what do you think about selling to the B2B right now? Like, I know a lot with LoginRadius, you've closed many enterprise customers and you're building GrackerAI now. So, how would you advise founders to kind of actually get their first 20 to 30 customers in B2B space?
Yeah, B2B space is quite fascinating. I mean, that's where like you can solve the real problem, because ultimately businesses also works with consumers. So when you work with businesses, it's not, it doesn't mean that you are just solving businesses problem, you are solving end consumers problem. um, so in B2B space, you have to first figure it out, the pain point, like what are the key pain point businesses are having. And you need to figure it out your potential customer, like what are the key focus for your potential customer, where they are struggling, what challenges they are running into, what sort of communities they hang out, what kind of, like, with this pain point, what are the value you can, your product, what you are building can add to them. So, and that's where you get your initial customers. So when I do, like, when we were just thinking about GrackerAI, like we had the similar challenge in LoginRadius, where having a tech background, right, we didn't know anything about the growth, how to grow the business, how to build the growth engine, how you can market and reach out to the potential customer, what kind of things customers are looking for. And that's where we had to do a lot of things, like we had to do a lot of research, lot of learning in many years. And that's why I built this Gracker, to simplify that pain for tech founders, where they can now understand what their customers, what their businesses potential customers are looking for, what kind of things they look for when they have this particular pain, what kind of communities they hang out in. So we are building this whole AI engine that would hopefully simplify this whole process. And then the tech companies can get closer to their customers and hopefully solve their problems faster.
Sure. So, how did you close your first 20 to 30 customers in Login Radius? Was there any insight that you found that kept on working after a while?
Yeah, the main thing is the organic growth. Like when we launched the product, anything like you distribute into those communities where people with those businesses are having challenge, they are looking for the solution. So the initial customers we closed back then is we had like we had launched the solution, and then the solution was kind of like in a way that, hey, this is what value you're gonna get if you use this solution. And then we just launched it into some of the communities like Reddit, and back then I don't remember, but it was quite a while, but few of the communities we launched it. And that's where some of the businesses got to know the product, and then they reached out to us. And that's where like we were like, hey, you can use it and let us know your feedback. And then some of the customers we had to do a little bit more explanation demos. But the main thing we focused on is whether the product can solve the real pain to them. And that's where I think it is much easier to solve the much easy to gain the new customers if you can solve the real pain point for them.
So you mentioned that you were struggling with growth and marketing, and you kind of had to do a lot of research. Is there any learning that you got from doing a lot of research that founders could use when you were building Login Radius?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these research is around, let me think about it. I mean, it's just like, how do you connect with your potential customer? Like the main thing is like figuring it out, the persona of customer, like what kind of businesses, because there are a lot of verticals that you can target, a lot of industries you can target. You need to figure it out, the specific niche, that hey, this particular customer is having this particular pain point, and then in this particular business we need to target like a specific person, whether it's an IT admin, whether it's a CTO, CISO, some specific person you need to target. So if a business can define their or the product can define the potential customer, their ICP, like the ideal customer persona, and the another best thing that they can do is if they can define when they will gonna need our product, like what kind of challenges they have, what is the trigger point they call it. So what is the trigger point that would basically give them access to use our product. So I think defining those things, and that's what we are building in Cracker, is how do you define your ICP, how do you define the persona, how do you define that trigger point, how do you define those strategies that can help you get closer to your potential customer. So those are the things that I had to learn the hard way.
So while building the company, like well, in the early days, you would have found all sorts of profiles that fit into your category, right? The way you define your ICP gets better as you build the product, and it takes time, right? For you to choose the right customers. So did you like do any mistakes on if a customer which who's not actually in your ICP, and they've asked a feature recommendation and you've built it, like how would you advise founders to navigate on that?
Yeah, and that happens all the time. I mean, this is the the I would say it is gonna happen, like you cannot avoid that. Like you always have your target customer, target persona, but you still have some customers, they say, hey, we're gonna buy your product, we're gonna pay you this much money, but you have to build these things. And then as an entrepreneur, uh, as a founder, you're like, okay, we are getting customers, so let's just build what they are saying. But that is the I would say the worst thing, the decision you can make. And definitely have made that decisions before, but now I have learned from those mistakes. And that's why as a serial entrepreneur, you understand that, hey, now the customer comes in and they say something, some feature that is not part of the roadmap, that is not part of the product, you always say no. So the advice I would give it to entrepreneurs, they should understand like what focus they have for the product. If a customer is asking something that is not in their roadmap, or that is something even not related to their product, it is not a product anymore, it is a service then. So you should always say no. It could lead to maybe customer not signing the contract, or maybe you might not win that particular customer, but that would help a lot down the line in future. If you have tons of features or tons of product that is not used by other your key customers, your potential customers, I think it would create a lot of complexity in your product, and it would even get more headache in future. So saying no where it doesn't align with your product, I think that's what entrepreneurs should do.
Yeah. So I just want to circle back to how you started building stuffs. Like how did you guys come up with the idea of login radius, and how did you kind of build on it, and then how did you come across the idea of GrackerAI?
Yeah, so a lot of these ideas comes from the our own challenges. Like even when we talk about login radius, idea came from, like I mentioned, like we were doing an ad tech company and a search engine, and that's where we had challenge with how do you connect with consumers, how do you simplify their online experience, how do you authenticate them faster. So that's where the problem came in, and that's where I built the solution of authentication. Gracker, same thing. In Logan Radius, there were so many challenges of personas and how to figure it out. How do you accelerate the marketing? And those challenges led to the all the learnings, all the research, all the patterns. And now AI is very new. Like couple of years ago, like we got to know about the generative AI. A lot of things that I had to do pre AI, where everything is manual. You have to write everything. You have to do a lot of research. Now you have the agents, you have the bots that can do research, that can take a lot of things out of your plate. You can even do multiple things at a time. So now that's the reason we are building Cracker, is all these agents. If you have, like, let's say 6 agents doing the research for you, 6 agents doing the things in the background in the parallel, you can compress like 6 months work in like 6 days. Like, so that's the whole thing with the AI, is how do you automate, how do you simplify all the research that you do manually, you do have to do it by yourself. You can have a creative instructions, you can have creative things. Even though you know it, you can validate it, you can verify it, but at least like a lot of things are ready to you, and then you can speed up your work and automate and simplify your life.
Speaking about Cracker AI and AI agents doing all of your work, so AI agents right now are going to be an entirely new market, right? Like there is not going to be my theory is that there's not going to be any UI in the future, because it's all going to be text based, and you're going to just give some prompts to the AI agent, and it's going to automate all sorts of workflows, and then bring whatever answer you want. It could just bring it to your hands. Like that UI market, it's going to entirely change everything. What do you think about that?
It's like in future where you don't need to like do too much. Like you just need to, instead of text, you can even say voice, hey, can I get this, hey, can I do this, like similar way what we do with all these Alexa and like Google Home, like some of the voice command softwares, where we just tell them, hey, can you do something for me, can you turn on light, can you turn off my blinds, can you do this temperature. So similar way, I think in future, that's what I think, is AI is going to help a lot, even in our work, where we say, hey, can you do research for me. Like there are a lot of movies, there are a lot of science fiction where especially like I remember the story about Iron Man, where Iron Man say, hey, can you do the color for this thing, can you do research, can you take this file from me. So it's
Jarvis.
small, yeah, Jarvis, yeah. So it's small manual things where you can do it. Like, yeah, I can do research, I can create this particular document, I can search for this file from this particular folder. But if something can be done in like 5 minutes versus 5 seconds, I think it is easier, it is making your best use of your time. So yeah, I think you are right. Like in future, that's what I think. It's not gonna be a science fiction anymore. It's it's gonna be more like, hey, you can focus on your productive work, this is what I need to do, this is what I need to execute, but small things related to that could be done through all these AI agents and bots.
Was there any kind of internal gut check you had before validating Cracker AI idea? Like, how did you validate Cracker AI? And you might have made mistakes with login radius before, and not even login radius, like with the edtech company or something else that you've built before, and you just learned like this is how you validate your idea, right? So, did you do? Was there any kind of that? Was there any that kind of internal gut check before Cracker AI? How did you validate it?
Yes, yeah. So I have been thinking about this idea for a while now, and I have a lot of like founder friends, and then I talk to them all the time. Hey, what is the main struggle you have? What challenges you are running into? And I know revenue growth is one of the biggest challenge for B2B companies. And when I tell them, hey, you can do something like this, so I help at least like I think 15 founders already with this Gracker stuff, like just manual, just explain them, hey, you can do this in your company. Hey, can you try this one? And they always ask my feedback and advice, and then they have seen good results. They told me literally like, hey, our marketing has ramped up like 5x 7x since we talked to you, since our marketing team is interacting with you. We have learned a lot, and we have used some of those strategies, some of these methods that you have told us. So I have already, that's the reason I validated all those things. And as soon as we launched, we already got like an 8 or 9 customers. They are right now like using the product, piloting the product, and making sure that what we are building is going to be used for a lot of other B2B SaaS companies.
So, selling to the B2B again, there is this kind of confusion sometime at while building a B2B company. At one point, you have to move to enterprise, and you might have been serving SMBs with your core product or your core innovation. And enterprise is definitely different. Like you have one customer paying a lot of money for you, but you have to change your product design, or you have to add some features that might deviate from your core technology. And when do you think founders should move from SMB to enterprise?
Yeah, I think that's a very valid thing in B2B. Like you have to always move up in the market. So you start with something very small, something small SMB can use. Then you learn from them. Then big company comes in, hey, can you solve this problem? But I need these few things. Then the enterprise company comes in, hey, yeah, you what you have is good, but can you add another 5 things for me? So I think slowly you have to move up. I mean, that is essential for B2B growth, I guess. uh, the one thing I would say, and then that's the one thing I learned in many years of my experiences. Now like you don't have to add all those features and a lot of new products to your whole customer base. What you can do now, and that's what I think probably we're going to do with Cracker, is like we will have a product where a lot of businesses, SMB, B2B SaaS companies can use it. But if an enterprise, you can create some specific product, but not add those product to everybody, like have some specific niche product, like so create like an environment, sort of a separate environment for those enterprise customers. So don't mix and match those products to your general audience or your target audience. So essentially you have in technical terms we call it like multi-tenant and single tenants, like two sort of products, where multi-tenant is used by like majority of your customer, and then single tenant you have a separate piece of product that is used by the enterprise customers, where they have a specific set of requirements, specific set of data compliance, privacy requirement, lot of things that other customers might not need. So I think all my learning is like you don't create like a whole big massive product. You just have a layers of product, and enterprise customers would use some of the layers that is not used by other small customers.
Sure, that sounds like a good strategy. And I just want to go back, I just want to now talk about your fundraising journey. Like, you've raised funds with LoginRadius, and you mentioned that you have many founder friends who have built companies and raised money. So, how do you think first time founders can raise money?
The first thing I would say for the first time founders is they should raise money from their customer. So the more customer they have, it's better. So if they have paying customers, and if customers are paying for your bills and your growth, I think that is the best thing they can do. First time founders should, I think a lot of founders, they still want to raise. I see in the market that everybody want to raise, and then they spend so much time and energy on raising that they forgot their product, or they stop building the product. They they make like the fundraising is their priority. So I wouldn't advise that. I'm pretty against that. My key thing is first build the product, prove the product in the market. You have a good MVP, you have a good customer base, you should have a paying customers, and then I don't think so then you will need to reach out to VCs or angels. They will gonna reach out to you. So if you have a good product fit, if you have a little bit of traction in the market, if you have a decent marketing, I think in the market, you acquire a few customers. For first time founders, I think it makes their life super easy. You don't even need to go and ask for meetings to all these VCs will want to come and say, hey, your product is growing, how can we help and what can we do to help. So I think if you look at it other way around is focusing on your product, building the MVP, building the some of the paid customers. I think fundraising is gonna make it super easy.
Let's say you are starting from scratch and you're starting GrackerAI, let's say, and you want, hypothetically, you want to raise money and you have a bit of traction. But the thing is, you haven't built yourself a social base, kind of like you don't have large amount of following on Twitter. You don't, you haven't posted that much about your company's growth. You're not so public about it, and there are many founders like that. So how could they get the attention of investors?
So then if you don't have that much network or connection, then what you can do is you can go to a lot of tech events. So every city has tech events. Even there are like a lot of online events where you can pitch and demo your product. You can show it to your potential customers, you can show it to VCs or angels. So you can definitely go and demo your product. You can reach out to some of these specific communities where they help you raise funds. I haven't actually used any of them, but I've heard that there are like some communities where you can go and pitch to VCs. You can even reach out to VCs. So fundraising is, I would say, like you have to be really active in some of the communities, events, a lot of conferences. That's where you can meet your potential angels or potential VCs, yeah, investors, yeah.
So you mentioned that you were totally against founders raising money while they should actually focus on the product, right? So did you do that mistake somewhere around? Like I think that was a strong point that you made, and I felt like you did that mistake before, and you just wanted to, and you just learned from it. Was there anything like that?
No, I don't think so. In my previous companies, like we had the revenue, like we had the customers, and that's was the good thing. This is what I see from other some other founders, some other people I see where they raise money early and then it just doesn't work out for them. But my key focus always is the product. How can you build the product? How can you get acquire customers? How can you acquire some good feedback and revenue from them? And that's where I think everything funnels through. But yeah, I don't have a personal experience on raising funds early without having anything.
So, speaking about mistakes, have you committed any mistakes while building companies in the past, and you have sort of learned a big mistake in the past, and you've sort of learned that I'm never going to do this mistake again uh, from that company? Like, is there anything?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of mistakes you do. Even I'm pretty sure I'm going to make more mistakes again. It's not that once you, I mean, yeah, humans make mistakes. Everybody knows that. It's nothing new. So, yeah, a lot of mistakes like hiring, there is always mistakes happens where you hire wrong people. You have a lot of mistakes having like some investors, like they are not good fit, part of the investors. You get customers like that also. Like we have customers where they don't fit a solution. So, yeah, I mean, there are mistakes around like team members, there are mistakes around customers, investors, partners, like yeah, all those sort of mistakes you make. A lot of mistakes around product as well, like you build something that might not be needed by customers. You think about it that hey, this could be a cool feature, this could be a cool thing that everybody wants, but it might not be. So yeah, I mean, you kind of learn from it. Now I think when I look back, like you validate everything. So if I need to build some product, first I need to validate with some of the existing customers before even thinking of building, maybe figure it out whether it's a real need. When I get a new team member, definitely there is lot more scrutiny happens, that hey, whether this, do we really need this team member, do we really need this person, if we need this person, what value they can add, whether it's a good fit for both of the parties, like not just the company but from the employee point of view, whether they are looking for the similar role or the similar thing. When you get a new partner, same thing, like you evaluate, like as you grow more, as you have more and more experience, obviously you're gonna make mistakes, but you can validate, you can see your previous challenges, and then you get a little bit better on those mistakes.
So, what was that mistake that you did while hiring? Like, I know a lot of people make mistakes while they are hiring, and what did you learn from it? Like, what was it? What was in your case?
I think the hiring, there is no one mistake. It's, I think over hiring is, I would say a lot of founders make mistake where you need, let's say a few team members, and then you over hire. Like let's say if you need only two team members for certain group, but you hire six people. So that is one of the big mistake, that where you overhire people where you don't need it, you don't think about it, um, you don't scrutinize that particular role or particular department well enough, that hey, how many people you need, what kind of work we have, what kind of growth we are having, what kind of projections we have for 6 months, 1 year, and step by step hiring instead of hiring more. So over hiring is one of the common mistake. And then the second biggest thing what I learned is, like I just mentioned, is the mutual connect between company and then the employee. So if you hire someone, you need to make sure that the person you are bringing on board, they have the similar values, similar growth mindset, similar, I would say there has to be a match. You need to talk to them, especially in the early phase when you have less than 50, less than 100 employees. Like you need to make sure that any team member you are bringing on board, because they are critical part of the team, they'll go help you grow or not grow. So the both of the mindset should match. Like it's not just like company point of view, hey, this person we are bringing as a developer, he's an amazing developer in Google, so he could be a good developer here. It might not be true. So you need to see whether do you need that particular skill, do you need that particular experience person, or you can hire a less experienced person can do a better job than that. So it's just you have to evaluate and you have to see whether the person is good fit, and then you are good fit for that person as a company.
So the second point, I just want to add another point to it. Like, you get a good person, and you just need to retain them, and they're really good, and they match with your values. So I've read something from Vinod Khosla that more you have to give equity. You have to make your early employees more happier than your investors. Like that's totally new, right? And one of the ways that you can make them happy is giving them equity. If you have really valuable people who can like go the extra mile for you and has the same growth mindset as you, and they're going to be such an asset to the company, you want to make them happy, you're going to give them equity. What do you think about that? Have you done that before? Like, how does it
Yeah,
work?
yeah, so team is very important. What I believe, without team, you cannot build a company. Whether you are an amazing founder, you know all these things, you know product, you know technology, you do everything, you know sales, marketing. Without team, you're nothing. Team is most important. And I think giving equity is one of the appreciation in the early days, because you can show them that hey, you trust them, and then they should trust the company because they are owner in the company, like you are owning that part of the company. So that sense of ownership, that sense of equity, what you give them, like that ownership, I think drives the more growth, and it brings the whole team together. So early team members are very very important in the company.
How much equity should founders should give to their employees in the early days?
I don't think so there is a formula for that. It depends on how much like what kind of stage you are bringing on. Whether you are like a very early phase like pre-seed, then you might need to give a little bit more equity. If you are like a little bit of have grown, you have a good
Let's
custom,
say
you
it's
have.
before Series A, and you have raised seed and you've got some traction.
Yeah, I mean, if you have traction, if you have growth, then also depends on what role you are bringing. I mean, at that time, I think you already have a product, so definitely the growth people, if you hire someone in sales and marketing and growth, I think they would add more value. So then you can, but I don't think there is a the set formula. I mean, there are like some metrics a lot of these accelerators have, but I don't believe in those metrics. I think it's how much value they can add, and then also uh, it has to change every year. It's not just you give equity one time and it's done. You have to give them more and more incentive every year to make the team motivated, to make sure that they are growing the company with you. So yeah, I think it's incentive based, and then you just keep adding it equity year over year if they are performing well and they are adding quite a bit value to the company.
That's awesome. So, since you have been a board member to Login Radius and it has grown and it has achieved product market fit and it has grown to scale, there is this thing with founders and board members, and from outside it's always a clash, right? It's viewed as a clash, like Steve Jobs and his board members. It's very important to choose your board members correctly, right? And since you've been in both sides, you've built companies and you've also been a board member, what do you think does a good board member should do to bring value to the founder? Like, what does a good board member do?
I think board member, first of all, they should know about the product. They should know the company's vision, mission. Like they should not be just like on paper board member. They should know a bit more about the company, a bit more about the founders, a bit more about what is it all about, what we are doing. And then I think that the biggest value they can add is to grow the company. I think a lot of board members I see, they help company grow a lot. Like they actively promote the company in their communities, they actively bring customers, they actively help company's growth. So I think now that should be the number one thing. What I think board members should do is think about growth of the company, not from the shallow point of view, but deep down, understand the product, understand the vision, understand the mission, and then figuring it out how they can help grow the company. So I think for board as a top player, it's not just like governance, it's more around growing the company and making sure they think about the company. So I think that's what a good board member should do for the company.
That's amazing. So, was there, you mentioned about building logic balls, right, from CrackerAI? Was there any kind of obstacle that you faced during building these things? And what was a big insight that you got from that obstacle while building the product?
So Logic Ball is, we like I said, we built it for mostly like non-tech audience. So that is just a weekend project. Like when I think the main idea came in when I was in India one time, just talking to like some of my relatives, going to some market, and then everybody was asking, "Hey, we are hearing in the news about this Chat GPT AI. What is going on? But how can we use it? Like, can you show us, can you teach us?" Like they know that I'm in tech, so they're like, "Hey, can you teach us how to use it?" And I was like, yeah, that's very interesting. Like, how do I teach you to use AI? Like, you just ask the AI. And that's where I was thinking about it. And then we were like, hey, can we make things simple for easy people? Like they don't need to go to some like open AI or Claude or something, and then they craft something or instructions or prompt or something. So that's where like we built like a very small solution. And the day we launched it and then we floated in the market, I think we had in first week we got like I think 5,000 people just like using it and just reaching out to us, hey, this is amazing, this. And last 3 months, like now we have acquired over like 160,000 customers, like they are signing up and using the product, and some of them are definitely paying for it also. But so the logic ball idea is nothing like it's just like a very, you can say just like a weekend project. We just like built it and launched it, and it just like grew. Gracker was the one where the it was a very well thought plan where like the
Calculator.
challenges, struggles we had, and it could really impact B2B company, especially B2B companies who are deep in the tech, like cybersecurity, cloud companies, where the marketing team is a very big disconnect with the product, because product is super technical and then the marketing folks won't understand it. So I think that could bridge a pretty big gap with marketing teams for those. So yeah, like Logic Ball is just like to help people. We didn't even want to charge anything, but then we saw our AI bill was shooting up. At one point I think we were paying like few $1,000s for our AI bill, and we were like, what's going on? We just launched it to just like, yeah, to help people. And then it's, so that's where we started monetizing it, and people were paying for it. I mean, we have a lot of like hundreds and hundreds of paying customers right now, and then it is helping us to pay our AI bills. So we are still helping people through Logic Ball, but the key vision in Cracker is to how can we help B2B companies to grow their marketing, to build a growth engine for their marketing team. So that's what we are doing now.
That's amazing. Building a consumer company to fund your B2B company.
So like, yeah, because a lot of people still think that through AI you cannot generate revenue. You can only build a tech. It's still very new that you just people are not ready to pay. But I think people are ready to pay if you can build a good product. If you can build a product that can add value, either business or consumer, I'm pretty sure people will are willing to pay for the product.
So you mentioned that you had 500K users signing up for as soon as you launched Logic Balls. Like, was there any viral thing that happened, and did you learn something from it? Like, what was kind of your marketing strategy that you used for Logic Balls?
Yeah, so we did a little bit of growth hacking for that also. So we reached out to a lot of AI communities where like people hang out and then see, and then we reached out to a few influencers who are like connecting with the non-tech audience. So there are like a lot of influencers who talk about tech things, but there are a lot of influencers who talk about non-tech people, non-tech audience. So I think we reached out to a few of them, and then they picked it up. They were like, wow, this is super easy, interesting, cool tool. And then they kind of made it viral. I think one of the Instagram, I think we got around like few million views or things for that particular thing. So it kind of made it pretty quick through these non-tech audience.
So influencer marketing and reaching out to people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's amazing. So I just asked this question to all of the founders in the podcast. So can you kind of share a grit story that happened before? Like, was there any time that while building LoginRadius or any kind of your whole startup life that you thought your company is going to die and it's going to be over, but you got up and you did what has to be done. You found a way through it and you overcame that. Like, was there any moment? Can you explain that story?
I mean, it happens every day. Every day you think that the company's it's gonna end. It's the day, and but I mean, yeah. I mean, if you are building a B2B company, like there is always challenge with the team member. Like, hey, this critical team member might leave the company. You have some customers that you always have a risk of losing. That, hey, this customer might churn um, due to some issues or something happens. It's a technology, right? So things happens all the time. uh, so there are a lot of small incident happen where you think that yes, it might be the end of the day, but you always overcome it. I mean, I don't remember some specific incidents where like where I think that yeah, it would, or it didn't end it. Like, yeah, there are small incident, you always overcome it, like customers, right? For example, like we had a big customer, they were like, hey, things are not going well, we're gonna close the contract. And then you talk to them, you have a call, you have a meeting with them, you explain it to them, you figure it out, you fix their problem, and then yeah, you save that customer. So yeah, it happened multiple times where these things happens. Same thing with the team members. Some team members are like, yeah, we are not happy or something is not going right, and then we need to do that. So yeah, you just need to figure it out. Uh, like, yeah, these things happens, but I don't remember some specific details of some specific thing, but yeah, these things happens all the time.
So, last question I ask this to all of the founders who are in my podcast. How do you kind of define your life? Is your life defined by the work you do? Like, what's your definition of life?
Um, yeah, that's very hard. I mean, um, to be honest, I love what I do. I love building product. I love simplifying the technology, and I'm proud of what I do. So definitely, like what I do is my life. I work a lot, but it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the life. I have a proper work-life balance. I play a lot of games. I play tennis, pickleball, and things like that. I enjoy with my family and friends. So, but the meaning of life for me is I should be always doing what I like, what is adding value to me as well as to the world. And I think that's a simple thing for me, that I always want to do something that I love and then I'm passionate about.
That's
If that
amazing. That's amazing. I think we have come to the end of the podcast. Yeah. First of all, thanks so much for taking the time to do the pod, and it's been amazing.
awesome. Thank you, Shurya. It was great talking to you. Yeah.